Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the Prime Minister for an advance copy of her statement. Mr. Speaker, yesterday EU leaders agreed to grant the United Kingdom an Article 50 extension to the 31st of October. This means that Britain will now have to start the process of holding European elections in the extraordinary situation of not knowing whether the new MEPs will take their seats or for how long. This has come just 3 weeks after the Prime Minister told the House she was not prepared to delay Brexit any longer than the 30th of June. The second extension in the space of a fortnight represents not only a diplomatic failure, but is another milestone in the government's mishandling of the entire Brexit process. A measure of this could be seen in this House on Monday, when 1/3 of her party voted against her own policy to request a short delay and 4 of her cabinet members abstained. And can the Prime Minister also confirm that the request by the Leader of the House on Tuesday for the EU to reopen the withdrawal agreement has also been rebuffed? The Prime Minister stuck rigidly to a flawed plan, and now the clock has run down, leaving Britain in limbo and adding to the deep uncertainty of business, workers and people all across this country. Mr. Speaker, I welcome that the Prime Minister finally decided to reach out to the opposition last week and open talks to try and find a breakthrough. The fact that the invitation didn't even come at the 11th hour, but at 5 past midnight, 3 days after the Prime Minister had missed her own Brexit deadline of the 29th of March, is a reflection of the government's fundamental error in not proceeding by consensus. However, Mr. Speaker, I can report to the House that the talks now taking place between the opposition and the government are serious, detailed and ongoing, and I welcome the constructive engagement that we've had. Although this view may not be universally shared by many on the Conservative benches, I also welcome the indications from the government they may be willing to move in the key areas that have prevented the Prime Minister's deal from being supported on this side of the House. If these talks are to be a success, resulting in an agreement to bring our country back together, the government will have to compromise. That is why it is with disappointment that I read the Secretary of State for International Trade's letter this week, in what seemed to be an attempt to scupper meaningful talks by all but ruling out Labour's customs union proposals. A proposal, I might add, which is supported by business and industry bodies as well as by all leading trade unions in this country. It is a proposal that European Union leaders and the Irish Taoiseach just yesterday have said is both credible and negotiable. Labour will continue to engage constructively in talks because we respect the result of the referendum and we are committed to defending jobs, industry and living standards by delivering a close economic relationship with the European Union and securing frictionless trade with improved rights and standards. If that is not possible, we believe all options should remain on the table, including the option of a public vote. And, Mr. Speaker, we see no advantage in the proposals of the Secretary of State for International Trade to create distance and divergence in our trading relationship with our largest trading partner. This House must also bear in mind that after a deal has passed, the current Prime Minister has said she will step down. We have no idea who may succeed her. So with that in mind, we have to entrench any agreement, because some of those already throwing their hats into the ring have said they would scrap the Human Rights Act, they would rip up burdensome regulation, or would even prefer to leave without any deal at all. Some on the Conservative benches want nothing more than to use Brexit to create a race to the bottom, opening up our economy to US big pharma companies in our National Health Service, hormone-treated beef on our plates, slash workers' rights and consumer standards, and to have the UK become a virtual tax haven on the shores of Europe. Let me be clear to the Prime Minister and to the country. Labour will not support any deal that would leave us open to such a dystopian vision for the future of this country. It is incumbent on all of us now to find a way forward. We must continue to talk to each other, and if the government is serious, the red lines must move, and we must see a real compromise. I look forward to the discussions in the coming days, and even at this late stage, to work to find a deal that can command not only the support of this House, but, perhaps more importantly, the support of the public across this country too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I say to the Leader of the Opposition that the talks between the Government and the Opposition have indeed been serious. They are detailed and they are being taken forward in a constructive and positive fashion. We did, of course, offer talks at an earlier stage than very recently, but I'm pleased that we are now able to sit down in this way. He raised the issue about the European parliamentary elections. Of course, had members in this House voted with a majority to agree the withdrawal agreement on the 29th of March, we would have guaranteed leaving on the 22nd of May and not holding the European parliamentary elections. At the time, obviously, the Right Honourable Gentleman didn't feel able to support a deal to enable us not to hold those European parliamentary elections. It is still possible to do so, and we will continue to work on that. He talked about the need for us to protect jobs, industry and living standards, and indeed that is what we have been aiming to do with the deal that we agreed with the European Union. But not just in relation to the deal with the European Union. Actually, it is this government that has presided over record levels of people in employment. It is this government that has seen helping people with their living standards with tax cuts for 32 million people. He talked about the future relationship and the need to entrench aspects of the future relationship. Of course, the government did on the 29th of March say that we would accept the amendment that was put down on the order paper by the honourable member for Stoke-on-Trent Central, which would require Parliament to have that role in looking at the future relationship and the negotiating objectives for the future. And what that clearly makes the case is that any government, as it's going through those negotiations, will of course have to ensure that they are taking Parliament with them in agreeing that future relationship. And on the issue of coming together in an agreement, the point is very simple. I'm not prepared just to accept Labour's policies. The Labour Party isn't prepared just to accept our policies. As the honourable gentleman, the member for Holborn and St Pancras, has said, this takes compromise on both sides, and that's what we're doing, sitting down seriously to find a way that enables this House to ensure that there is a deal that commands a majority, so we can leave the European Union, fulfil the vote of the British people in 2016 in the referendum, and do so in a way that does indeed protect jobs and living standards and industry.